Hello Year 10. What we're going to do today is just give you an overview of the poem Who's for the Game by Jessie Pope. I'm firstly going to read the poem and then I'm going to talk about some of the information, and it would be good for you to have a pen and paper at hand so you can write and take notes. Who's for the game, the biggest that's played, the red crashing game of a fight? Who'll grip and tackle the job unafraid, and who thinks he'd rather sit tight? Who'll toe the line for the signal to go? Who'll give his country a hand? Who wants a turn to himself in the show, and who wants a seat in the stand? Who knows it won't be a picnic, not much, yet eagerly shoulders a gun? Who would much rather come back with a crutch than lie low and be out of the fun? Come along, lads, but you'll come on all right, for there's only one course to pursue. Your country is up to her neck in a fight, and she's looking and calling for you. So what we can see here is that Jessie Pope has written this poem as a call to action. She's trying to stir some encouragement into men so that they go and fight. And she's using this extended metaphor of the game. So she's making that comparison of playing a game of rugby to the going of war. Now, obviously, we need to then make some connections there. We need to infer some kind of meaning. So we need to think about how we might understand a sports player in our eyes or in a generalized way. We know that sports players are often held up on pedestals. We know that there's some kind of glory in being a sportsman. We know that there's glory in playing the game and being a part of it. Okay? So we can look at it in that sense. We can also think about even in a schoolyard sense, and the idea that you don't want to be the person left out. You don't want to be the person that's not joining in, because then you won't be part of the fun. You're excluded. You're seen as, less of a person if we're talking in that generalized sense. So this poem is propaganda to encourage people to go to war. And by suggesting it's a game adds that element of fun, but we know that that's not the case. We know that war is not fun, but she's just using that as part of the metaphor so that it might encourage more people. So, she uses that superlative of biggest, okay, to suggest there is no other game that can compete with going to war. There is nothing more glorious than being a soldier, part of that group going to war. Okay? And it also implies kind of the scale that war exists on. The playing field is the world. So there is no bigger, arena for this in a sense. She talks directly to the audience. She uses that, and who and you, and trying to really get the audience to listen in. And she asks a lot of rhetorical questions. You can see throughout, the first 2/3 of the poem, she's really using the rhetorical questions to enforce her position. Okay? If we move a bit further down, who'll toe the line for the signal to go? Who'll give his country a hand? Okay, we know that phrase, giving someone a helping hand. So again, she's using terminology and phrases that are quite common in our everyday language, but putting them in the context of war. Who wants a turn to himself in the show, and who wants a seat in the stand? So again, showing that difference between being a player and being a spectator. Okay, you don't want to be a spectator, according to her. Okay, and it's building of that metaphor of war as a game. Okay, and another thing that we understand is that when children are young, they love to play war games. Okay, even if you think of computer games, how many of the computer games that are popular in society are based around war and conflict? Okay, and it's that interest and that intrigue that is encouraging that participation. Okay, and what we need to understand is it's also emphasizing patriotism. Okay, and it's also emphasizing patriotism to an extreme level and talking about people, who believe that it's okay to be violent or aggressive or force people into protecting their country. And that's kind of what this is. It's kind of forcing the hand, almost that thing, well, you can do this, but if you do that, then there is going to be, consequences. Okay, if we move down to the next stanza, who knows it won't be a picnic, not much, yet eagerly shoulders a gun. So she's saying, well, that idea of something being a picnic, if something's a picnic, it's easy, okay? And they know it's not going to be a picnic, but they're going to go with enthusiasm and hold a gun and use the guns. Like, it's just emphasizing that. And who would much rather come back with a crutch than lie low and be out of the fun? So who's going to go to war with the potential of coming home injured? She doesn't emphasize death. She just uses crutch. But then lie low and be out of the fun. So as if you're hiding and, you're not part of the fun. Who doesn't want to be part of the fun? So as using all these terminology, that's really trying to be encouraging and very positive in the way that it's described. Okay? And it is quite a leading question. She's implying that if you come back with a crutch or with an injury, you're going to be victorious. It's some kind of badge of honor to come back with that injury. Okay? But it ignores the fact that there are severe and serious injuries that soldiers obtain. Okay? Not only physical, but psychological. And that's not acknowledged at all. Okay? And she's really underplaying the severity of that situation. So if we have a look, come along, lads, but you'll come on all right, for there's only one course to pursue. Your country is up to her neck in a fight, and she's looking and calling for you. So again, this plays out in this idea of helping a mate out in a fight. That idea of if you saw your friend and they were in trouble, you'd go and help them out. Okay? And that phrase of up to her neck in it. We tend to think if someone's up to their neck in something, they're in deep trouble. They're severely threatened or in danger. So she's using a lot of that terminology again. But that idea of come along, lads, it's very friendly. It's very colloquial, it's very casual. It's how you might normally call someone just to go and play the game of football. Come on, lads, let's go play. So again, she's really trying to think that the men are going to sign up because of this, sense of patriotism. And again, by creating, your country as a female. So it's like that damsel in distress. They have to help. She's looking and calling for you, saying, come on and help. So what we can see here in this poem is a very different perspective of the idea of propaganda and the idea of war to what we might initially see. And it will distinctly contrast some of the other poems that we are going to study.